They say all good things must come to an end. And despite scaling massive heights last season, getting to within a whisker of glory and capturing the imagination, unfortunately there comes a time when you just have to cut your losses and say goodbye. No, I'm not talking about Jaap Stam and his management of Reading Football Club. I'm unfortunately talking about myself as host of this very podcast. For the 139th and final time, I'll be hosting this show and then riding off into the sunset. But fear not, we've got quite a lot to get through in this final show. So, stick around. Why not? Whether this is your 139th go round or your first, a very big thank you for hitting the download button, giving this a listen. My name is Dan Wimbush, the now former editor of the Tilehurst.com. And as I said, over the next hour or so, we'll be chatting through what has been a bit of a turbulent period in Reading history. I couldn't let the final show go without a tongue twister. It's not been good, let's put it that way. Unfortunately for Reading, we're not riding off on a high. It's a bit of a low, but we'll analyse whether this is a temporary blip or something to be a bit more concerned of. And I couldn't ask to host my final show without this man, who was here for number one, not just of this show, but for number one of any Reading podcast anywhere. Mr. Alan West. Westy, welcome along.
Hello, Wim. Isn't it fitting?
It is. We've come full circle.
We've done a full circle, and 139 and out is still pretty good batting innings. Yeah,
if you include all of the podcast extras, interviews and stuff, I think I'm pushing 200.
So you're saying it's declared, not out?
Yeah, I'm just declaring. Look, I'm not saying it's goodbye forever. I'm going to say it's goodbye for now. I'll come on to more of that at the end because, look, you're not downloading this to hear me talk about me, but I will talk about why this is happening and what might be in the future. That's all coming up at the end of the show. But Wesley, as mentioned, we've unfortunately got a couple of defeats to talk about. I think in the 4 years I've been running this show, this is probably about the lowest point.
This is a very, very bad run, isn't it? I think it's, again, we'll get into it a bit more, but I think with Jaap Stam at the helm, it's a little bit skated over to a certain extent. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's him. If it had been someone of a lesser name, I think we might have been a bit more up in arms than we are.
Well, I'll point out a couple of really not very good stats if you missed a Stam in the recap. But 2 games for us to get into, starting with a 2-1 defeat at the Den and then a 2-1 defeat on the telly at home to Norwich. All of that is coming up in the recap.
View from the Tilehurst end. Recapping this week's championship action.
So with everything that was going on, we didn't have time to record last week in the immediate aftermath of that 2-1 home defeat to Norwich West. But I kind of think that's a good thing, because in the immediate hours and days after that, emotions were really running high amongst the fan base. I think it's good that we can sit here, 8-9 days later and take a more considered look at that defeat and the reverse at Millwall as well. Overall, as we get back into football after the international break, how are you feeling?
My opinion hasn't changed about either game if I recorded it straight after or now. It stays exactly the same. Millwall, it's a game they should have won, really. Taking the lead as late in the game as they did and then capitulating the last 10 minutes for a game that Millwall, for large periods, weren't really in, is more concerning than if they had been all over us and beat us 2-1. Because if you're losing games and you're playing relatively well, that's bigger concern than winning games ugly, isn't it? And at the moment, Reading don't seem to be able to score more than one goal, or in some occasions, not even getting one goal. And if you're not going to score goals, you ain't going to win football.
When those goals are coming for all of the pretty passing patterns and, consider build-up and pressure.
It's all lovely, Wim.
They come from set pieces.
Yeah.
They come from corners and free kicks.
Yeah. And we're not creating opportunities playing lovely, pretty pattern football, are we, at the moment? And that's, again, a worry.
And look, you can go back and listen to the 138th episode that we recorded just after the whole game. And I don't want to really hit on too many of the same points because we could just replay that recap and just change the name Hull to Norwich and it would be pretty much the same thing. I mean, you did think when they had that lead at Millwall, Dave Edwards gets his first goal for the club, you just thought, is this the lucky scrappy win you need to really give you confidence? Lots of people have said, from experts to the casual pundit, for this system to work, you need players to be confident. And you just think maybe if they got those 3 points, it would have given them a launch pad. But it couldn't have got any worse. 2 late sucker punches.
Yeah, and I mean, the first one, I think that was a fluke. I don't think he meant to hook that. I think he meant to hook it back into the box and he sort of flicked it over the goalkeeper. So it was a good header. And the second goal was a great strike. But again, it shouldn't have been allowed to happen in the first place, should it?
Yeah, again, a lack of closing down for the midfield. How people are getting into such space in all areas of the pitch at the moment. It is really concerning, especially when you've got a former world-class defender who just can't seem to organise the defence properly. So we go into the Norwich game. on a low. And, it starts as every home game seemed to start. Okay, bit of nice passing, and then Reading fall behind.
It was a strange one for me, and I said it on the way into the ground. I couldn't believe that he wouldn't start Bodvarsson. For the simple fact is, if you lose the match and you haven't put him on the pitch, then everyone points the finger if you're not putting him on the pitch. If you put him on the pitch from the start and then you lose the match, there is no complaint, is there? No one can say, wow, you should have done this, you should have done that. I don't know if it's stubbornness or just pure stupidity that he's got 3 players that don't score goals up front, and he's got Bodvarsson, who, let's face it, he's not the greatest goal scorer in the world, never has been, but he's playing well for Iceland.
And he got a great goal on his last home appearance.
Yeah, and he's come off the bench and scored. He does change the dynamics of the team because you can hit him. He's better in the air than the others. He's not the same sort of player as the other 3 that he's had going forward. And I just thought it was a no-brainer to start him during this match. And again, if he fails, then he failed. But if he doesn't, that's great. It's an added bonus. But no one can have a go at you if you start the player rather than leave him on the bench again. And when he brought him on, it's too late anyway.
Well, absolutely. We talked a lot last season. There was this whole luck debate, and we boiled it down to, look, it's not lucky. You're creating those chances, and okay, things are going your way, great. But look, being sentimental about it, when you're in a bad run of form, everything goes against you. Yeah. And Norwich's opener, absolutely scorching free kick. Just the sort of thing, again, that we didn't see against us last year.
No, that was a brilliant free kick. Because in real time, it looked like a good free kick. But when you see it on the telly, it was the goalkeeper in the world saved that. It was a great strike.
Absolutely beautiful. So Norwich get the lead, and then you really fear for the worst. The crowd, which is really small, we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but there's no noise. You can hear the discomfort. But Reading go and get themselves an equaliser pretty quickly. Liam Moore nodding home from a corner. I think this is his 3rd career goal in English football. So a rare effort indeed, and a really important one as well.
And again, it was a set piece, like I said earlier. 2 set pieces.
Good delivery from Sonny Luca. I think that's 3 assists in 3 for him now.
Great ball in. And we knew he was good at that was his main sort of gift. He's going to bring to us the fact that he does have a lot of assists. He did for Fulham last year. But he doesn't score a lot of goals. So you need someone to be taking that slack up. And unfortunately, that's not really happening. But they got themselves back in it, like you said, and again, it did turn the crowd from being slightly negative to quiet, but not quite as bad as it may well have been. But after that, I thought it was a good game of football. I quite enjoyed it. But again, Reading didn't look like it was going to win the game at any point.
Yeah, in terms of recent first half performances we've seen at the Mansstad, it was amongst the better ones.
It was a good game. I thought it was a good game. I thought it was quite even. It could have gone either way, but there was only one way it looked like going the further the game went on, was the fact that we didn't look like we was going to score.
Yeah, there was a warning shot from Cameron Jerome who got past the defence and just hit the outside of the post, didn't it? And it just pinged out the wrong way.
Yeah.
That was Reading's warning shot. But for as much as I thought, and I agree with you, it was a good game of football. How many chances, though, really did Reading create?
Nothing. The goalkeeper had an easy day. He made no saves that I can remember off the top of my head.
And you try and take these positives, but you look at the cold light of day, and it just wasn't good enough again. And gets into the second half, that man Jerome, just awful defending from a set piece. Tyler Blackett is made to look 12.
What do I say about Tyler Blackett? Switches off all the time.
He just gets out muscled and...
Yeah, but he switched off as well because he never should have got himself into that position to have a scrap with the striker, Cameron Jerome. He should have been in that position. He should have got himself with his back to goal, in front of him. He was sideways on for a start. He should have had, looking at Cameron Jerome, he's let him push him to one side and he was in acres by the time.
Yeah, everybody else caught ball watching. He's in acres of space, and it's a simple thing. A few people have said, Mannone should have done better, but no. I'm sorry, as nice as it is for someone like an El Habsi to be bailing you out with wonder saves, it's meat and drink.
Yeah, he shouldn't be put in that position in the first place.
Yeah. And, the huff and puff, Norwich get a man sent off right at the death, but really, he brings on Bodvarsson and he brings on young Richards. Omar Richards at left back as well is a real sign to Tyler Blackett that this is how good I think you are at the moment. Jordan Abita's injury from the whole game really looking like it's had a big effect.
But we've had this discussion before about Blackett. He's not a left back.
No,
he's not a left back. He's okay if you play him in a 3 as a centre back, as a left sided centre back. He's okay, but he's got this nasty habit of being a second behind everybody else when it comes to thinking. And
and that is pretty much that. Now, this now means this is Reading's worst start to a championship season since the 1987-88 season. Were you watching at all then, Westy? Am I aging you too much?
Yes, no, I was definitely there then.
Ian Branfoot in the then old second division, so the second tier. And unfortunately that season they wanted to get relegated. Which unfortunately means for Jaap Stam that this is actually a worse start than the one that Terry Bullivant had in 97-98, and a worse start than Brendan Rodgers had in 2009, 2010. The common thread with both those men, they were sacked.
Yeah. Do you know the thing about the 87-88 year?
Go for it.
They basically had a cup team and a league team, because not of the messages of strikers, I think it was Billy Whitehurst and Trevor Senior at the time, they were already cup tied, so they couldn't play in a similar cup.
And...
Yeah, there's a few of them. I think there was a few that couldn't play because they were cup tied. So the league team got relegated and the cup team won the cup.
Yeah, winning the Simod Cup against Luton in one of the great days for the football club. So, I think we'll all take an FA Cup win this season.
Yeah, so maybe you should have played the cup team in the league. It might have helped.
Yeah, well, unfortunately they didn't get the job done at Swansea either. A really bad... look, there's no way you can sugarcoat this. It's an awful start. It is a start that would see any manager under pressure.
Especially as we've spent the most money we've ever spent. And to be fair, that's probably, I'd say that's definitely a better squad than we had last year.
We've got lots of questions in the mailbag about Stam's future, and we ran a poll on the Twitter account after the Millwall game asking, are you 100% behind Stam? Yep, he's in for now, but he's got to improve. I'm not sure. Or no, he's got to go now. And to be fair, I think it was under 20% wanted him to go now.
No, again, I don't want him sacked. I think that would be harsh considering the position he found us in and he brought us to. I do think, though, that it shows how important Jan Kermorgan was to that football team last year. How pivotal his performances that were, because I thought he probably had one of the best seasons of his career. And his goals were, speak for themselves. But not only that, his contribution to the side is massive. And I don't want to be sat here thinking that a 36-year-old footballer is what we need to make us go up the league.
With less than a season left in his career.
Because we shouldn't be in that position.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most damning thing for me, and it goes beyond Jaap Stam as well. It goes to Ron Gourlay, to Brian Vraden, to the Chinese owners, to the Thai owners, whoever it was. They've had this mission, the scouts, everybody. They have known now for a long, long, long time that Reading have needed a striker. Mm-hmm. They had an entire summer to get one. And you could say the January before as well, when admittedly they got Graben for a few months, but they've had all this time and they didn't get it. Now, Kermorgan's injury is a big blow and no one can foresee things like that. And they brought in Bodvarsson, but Stam doesn't seem to like Bodvarsson.
No.
So if that was your only other striker signing, I don't know, how do you explain it?
You don't. And if you look at Bodvarsson, he is a replacement, isn't he? He is in a similar vein to Kermorgan. They do play similar styles of football, so you can understand why they've done that. But it also makes me wonder if Jaap Stam ever wanted him in the first place.
Well, this is it.
Surely if you're buying a player, you're buying him to replace somebody else, aren't you? So if you didn't think he was good enough, why buy him in the first place?
Especially when Kermorgan gets injured. So what was the plan? Was the plan that Bodvarsson would only ever be a 20-minute sub for Kermorgan? Or was the feeling that this is the man who's going to replace Kermorgan? Because again, Kermorgan said, I'm retiring at the end of the season.
Everyone knew for plenty of time they've had, haven't they?
So, look, transfers are difficult, and especially for Reading, who don't have the big... I know we spent a lot of money, but we don't have a massive budget. And the figures being quoted for the likes of Oliveira, Dwight Gale, the top quality slam dunk improvement signings were ridiculous. Yeah. And I don't even think I'd want Reading to spend that.
No, and we haven't done it historically, and we've always managed to have at least one really good striker, haven't we?
Why they didn't go out and get somebody either on loan from a Premier League side for 6 months or take a young punt. Take a punt on someone from League One, League Two that's banging in the goals, and at the end of the day, if they flop, you've lost nothing.
Yeah, no one cares really. Yeah.
You've lost absolutely nothing. Yeah, okay, they might be consigned to the Brett Williams, Carl Shepherd bin, but...
There might be the Kevin Doyle, Shane Long.
Exactly. Dave Kitson.
Yeah.
Adam Lafondra. And at least gives the fans something to get behind, whereas now... They're just going with, like you said, people that don't score goals. They're forced to trot out people that are so out of form, like Gareth McCleary.
Yep.
And I'm not having to go at any of these players because they are clearly trying. They're clearly working to a game plan. And it's, the luck isn't with them.
I also think to myself, if I was Bodvarsson, how would I feel about it? Because I wouldn't be happy sat on the bench. Especially when players aren't scoring. If you're sat on the bench and the team's winning every week and they're scoring every week, you've got no argument. But if you've come off the bench and you've scored... and the players that are up front haven't scored all season, and you're still sat on the bench, I'd be absolutely fuming.
But look, there is a wider debate to be had about this system, and it will rage on long after I hang up this microphone. But, you only unfortunately need to look at the Dutch national team this week, who are facing not qualifying for a second major tournament, and you just have to start asking, do you need to compromise be a bit more pragmatic with his system, yeah.
You need to win football matches. It's as simple as that. And whichever way you do that is fine by me.
Yeah. And look, this system worked last year. It got us to third in the league. We were one kick away from the Premier League. So I'm not necessarily saying 100%. Yeah, in the bin, gone. I know more than Jaap Stam. I'll turn this thing around tomorrow. I don't. And I'm sure Jaap is doing everything he possibly can. But he's a young manager. He's learning his craft. I agree with you, Westy. Definitely not time to sack him now.
No.
But he has to start showing some signs. Either that this system is right for the long term and that we're going to see some improvement, or that he's prepared to change and we're seeing shoots of improvement. That's all any fan wants to see. They don't care. Well, some fans are petty. Some fans are like, I need to see my team winning every week or I'm not going to bother. But most fans are like, I just want to see a bit of exciting football.
Yeah.
I want to see that we're better than last week, that we're not making the same mistakes.
And we are. And he's still picking the same forward three that aren't scoring. And that can't carry on, can it? Because the longer it lasts, the more pressure you're putting upon yourself.
Yeah, and international breaks can come at the best and the worst of times. I mean, I thought the last international break came at a good time. We'd gone into it in a win and we had the transfer window, but for whatever reason, we had no momentum. This one came at a perfect time because Westy, we'd had another 2 games in the space of 4 days, another Tuesday-Saturday game, and particularly these 2 fixtures, Leeds and Sheffield United, with no time to reorganise and regroup.
No.
We could be very much sat here talking about, a change at the top.
Yeah, we would have been, because you can't carry on losing. Like I say, if you've got new owners, they've spent a lot of money, it doesn't matter who you are, eventually that's going to catch up with you. I don't see what he can do differently, though. Do you know what I mean? Unless he's going to start Bodvarsson, and then Bodvarsson's got to prove that he's worth starting. And he's played well for Iceland. I see some of the highlights of his games recently. I mean, I think he had 2 assists he had last game. So he's in form. There's no real reason not to start him against Leeds.
Well, I mean, it's given the players a couple of weeks to go off. A few of them have gone away with their countries. Others have had a chance to rest and recoup. Hopefully we'll have the likes of John Swift back. And, we talked about Jan Kermger's impact last season. Don't forget how many points John Swift won us early last season with set pieces, goals. He got the winner against Preston, up at Barnsley, a League Cup game with Brighton. Corners and free kicks, they were just as... Because Kermger didn't really hit his stride until after Christmas.
No, and funnily enough, John Swift started... I thought he started the season exceptionally well, and then his form dipped horribly. And then he was sort of in and out, wasn't he, after that? So I think them two sort of complement each other as the season went on.
Absolutely, but hopefully with him back, I said he's had a couple of weeks. Maybe he is going to change the system. Maybe he's going to do something different. Maybe he's had good chats with the players and the staff, and he says, you know what? I've noticed X, Y, and Z. We're going to change that. I don't know. Or look, he might just stick to what he knows.
I will say against Norwich, I thought they did try and play the game quicker. It was much...
Yes.
They did up the intensity of the football, which I thought helped. But again, it still didn't create any chances for us today. So he needs to think a bit more progressive, a bit quicker, definitely. I think that's been our major problem. They tried it a little bit against Norwich, but I think it needs to go up another notch still. They need to use the pace they have, and they need to put a ball in it.
And the encouraging thing about that, Westy, is that Stam himself is saying exactly the same things in his post-match. He recognises these problems. I think the question is, how does Stam get from recognising these problems to sorting them out? I think for now, he's been like, well, we're just going to keep plugging ahead and hoping something turns around in our favour.
Do you know, I heard something today actually I thought was quite relevant. I was listening to TalkSport on the way into work this morning about 6:30, and I think it was Ray Parlour. He was talking about being at Arsenal, and he said the coaches used to say to him, your first pass should always be forward. And that doesn't always happen at Reading, does it?
No, but it seems to happen very rarely. But look, we're going to have a fresh start. It was nice that a former Reading manager in Brian McDermott, the man that Stam replaced, he came out and he was speaking to BBC Radio Berkshire this week and saying, look, he's done a fantastic job. I knew the job he had to do because obviously he was planning to do it himself. So he knows the scope of it, and he pointed out himself that in the title-winning season they had a miserable start. He felt under pressure, and that all turned around. So
it's funny, 'cause again, I don't need to stop your full flow there, but like I said to you before, when you watch the youth teams as you go down the years, even to the very young years, they have taken on this style of football. So to change completely could be catastrophic.
And that is one of the main reasons I think you keep Stam, because he's built this whole system around him. He's got the players in that he needs to, or he hopes can play this style of football. The players are bought into him. Anytime you hear any of them interviewed, Chris Gunn saying he's the best manager I've ever worked under. So the players, at least, well, certainly before this bad spell, were behind him. I like to think they're still behind him. It's only really when you get players, and you get those snide pops when things are going wrong. And we've had no hint of that. We've seen no snarking, no anything coming out on social media. Although in saying that, I don't think I'd want to get on Stam's bad side. He was still my manager.
Yeah, don't forget he comes from the Alex Ferguson school as well. If you upset him, you could be out pretty quickly.
But look, there are crafty ways for players to get their discontent out, and we've had no indication whatsoever of that. So look, the dressing room seems behind him. We did that poll. It seems like the majority of the fans, certainly by the ones that voted, well over 1,000 people voted, and at least 60-odd% were behind him. So he's got that backing of the fans, he's got the backing of the players, and it looks like, because he's not been sacked and there's been no comment from the owners, he's got the backing. So look, he's got all the tools now he needs to turn this around, and hopefully he can recapture that magic. Be a big win at Leeds, a scrappy win at Leeds, any win at Leeds, everything changes. Yeah. Everything looks so much better, and we march on from there. So the one thing that will worry, I think the owners in particular, Westy, was the crowd. Now, the official attendance for this one was 14,226, which was about 3,000 down on the same weekend when they played Derby and Huddersfield in the same space of 7 days. Now, TV is going to play a big part in that.
Massive. Saturday night as well, don't forget.
Yeah, a slightly later kick-off as well. But let's be honest, there weren't 14,000 in the ground. There was maybe 12, of which 1,500 were Norwich fans.
Yeah.
Was that the smallest crowd you've seen for a Championship home game?
It was quite small. I did expect it to be less than it would have been if it had been a 3 o'clock, not on TV game. I think you would have ended up with nearer 15,000, maybe a few more. Norwich fans would definitely come down, I would have thought. It's concerning. I've said before about the crowds dropping off. The football is boring. A lot of people have stopped coming. I know that for a fact. So yeah, it will concern them.
Yeah, and anecdotally, I heard the same from lots of people. It was like, do you know what? I'm just going to watch on, go down the pub, or I've got prior plans. I'm not going to change them. So,
I mean, if you're a floating fan, why would you spend 23 quid to come to watch them when you can watch it on telly?
But and this is Stam's challenge again. If he can turn this around after the international break and just get the season. I mean, I wrote an article around the transfer deadline day, and I looked at Stam's transfers. I looked at Aluko, Barrow, and thought, you know what? He's got the blueprint here to actually build more excitement into last year's football.
Yeah.
Admittedly, injuries have slowed him down because he hasn't had Barrow, he hasn't had Swift, he hasn't had Abita, hasn't had Kermigan. Hopefully, when these players are back, Barrow's back now, Swift should be back, Abita, unfortunately, not going to be. But he does now have these building pieces, and I'm still really hoping that he can turn this around. It's not all doom and gloom. This isn't a terrible Reading side. We are, make no mistake, right now we're in a relegation battle. We just are. Look at the table. That's where we are. We've got a quarter of the season gone. We're down there. So we can't pretend that we're too good to go down or this won't happen. It might happen. I don't think it's going to. But right now we're in a bit of a relegation scrap. We've got to get points on the board. But there's a long way to go. And this isn't a bad side. This is still 90% of the side that got to Wembley last year.
Yeah, again, I said it earlier, I think it's a very good side. It's a very good squad of footballers. And again, you look at the bench, you think we've got 5, 6, 7 good players sat on the bench. I don't see how we're struggling like we are. Clearly not scoring goals. That's what's costing us. But it's all there. I think it's all there to be turned round. And if Kerman comes back and has any sort of impact like he did last year, then I wouldn't think they'd be down the bottom for too long.
One thing you'll say about Jaap Stam from judging his playing career and from his short managerial career is he doesn't back down from a challenge.
No.
And he needs that spirit. He needs that determination, kick up the backside, whatever, or arm around the shoulder, drag this team back up the league. And I'm really hoping Jaap can do it. I'm backing him to do it. He's got a massive challenge with these next few games that we'll come on to later. But look, it's up to us as fans. We've got to do our bit as well. You know, we had a big debate about this whole Stam criticising the fans, but look, we can play a part. We can. Sometimes it is getting that chant going when the stadium's dead quiet. Sometimes it is hauling yourself to the ground when the football's not the best. We have a role to play as fans, and as much as it is an entertainment business, you're fair. You can spend your money however you like. I'm never going to sit here and lecture another fan. But look, all I'm saying is you can make a difference.
That's what you're there for.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, if you're going to come there and be negative and boo him all the time, then don't bother coming.
So, you know, the next home game, get on down there. I think it's a good couple of weeks away. And more to the point, the club are laying on free coaches for Sheffield United away.
Yep.
So if you've got that day free, less excuse, it just costs you a match ticket. Get on up there, back the boys, make some noise, and try and do your bit. And that way you can't sit there and say, well, maybe I should have done my bit. So anyway, that's it. I thought I'd try and end on a positive note anyway on the final recap of the of my reign of terror in charge of this show. But in the meantime, we will move on to the return of Pub Chat.
The Tilehurst End podcast by Reading fans for Reading fans.
Okay, so while I do welcome back one very warm, familiar part of the show from years past, we haven't got news bites this week because other than those 3 coaches to Sheffield United and Liam Moore winning the Club Player of the Month and the Tilehurst End Player of the Month, there wasn't an awful lot to say. So thought I'd bring back pub chat because, what better way to finish than the pub, Westy?
No better way indeed, Mr. Wimb.
Exactly. And this question came to us a few weeks ago and I held it back for a future show, and as this is my finale, I thought I'd bring it up here. It comes from Gregor. And he asks, given the recent Twitter and social media bashing of local journalists, print and radio included, for making errors in their reporting, do you think some fans have gone too far? Is there any situation where it's acceptable? Obviously, no one is above any criticism, because journalists should be fair and accurate. And replacing Charles Watts was always going to be a difficult task, but I think we need to remember 2 things. 1, local journalism does not pay well, and these guys are working long hours at weekends. And number 2, some clubs have banned local journalists even coming near the stadium. For example, Swindon, who didn't even report the fact they've been relegated in their final match report. I just feel we need to be a little careful with attacking the likes of Tim Della, Jonathan Lowe and Courtney Friday. They may not always get it right and don't break every transfer story like Charles did, but we can debate them on their opinions rather than just fire off abuse. If they go, and they won't be replaced with much better, we lose any kind of independence from what the club reports. So I thought this a good topic to get into, Westy. I mean, you worked alongside Johnny Fordham when he was in charge at the Reading Post, and you've obviously seen lots of Reading pundits come and go.
Yeah, the Hound. Really?
Yeah, the Hound, and Steve Beddoe.
Yeah.
So, and, I've been around as well for the John Southalls, and we've had Joel Hufford from BBC Radio Berkshire on the show. I've obviously spoke a lot with Charles Watts on the podcast extra, and now with the Wokingham Papers' Tom Crocker. So we've got a good general view of what's going on. On the first point, do you think some fans are going too far? Have you seen much of what goes around on social media?
No, I don't tend to look at it too much, if I'm honest with you. But I will say this. I mean, the first point is quite clear about local journalism. It's not paid very well. It is really a stepping stone for someone who wants to get into journalism. It pays terrible. Johnny would still be doing it now if it paid well, because he used to enjoy his job. He used to love the fact he was a Reading fan first and foremost. And same as Tim Della, they are Reading fans. They do it because they love it, not because they're going to be millionaires from it. I think it's sort of moved slightly over since Johnny Fordham probably left. There's now the journalisms that are taking over these roles are not necessarily Reading fans. So if they're inaccurate, it's just because they haven't got the knowledge that some of the fans will be sat there having themselves. That's not their fault. Some of them come from outside the area. I don't think Jonathan Lowe lives locally.
I think he lives locally. He's a Portsmouth fan.
Yeah, he's a Portsmouth fan. There you go. So, and I know I can't remember the guy's name. The one who took over from Johnny briefly, he was a QPR fan, I believe.
Charles.
Yeah.
Well, Charles Watts was an Arsenal fan, as is Tom Crocker now. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was a guy who used to fill in for Johnny now and again.
Yes.
He was a QPR fan.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah. But they're not Reading fans, so their inaccuracy sometimes will come from their lack of knowledge. But you will get that. Most of these young journos have just come out of college. This is their first job. They use it as a stepping stone. I know Johnny did. He's gone to bigger, better things now.
Covers rugby around the world.
All around the world. He's got a cushy little number.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so again, should we have a go? And like I say, I think sometimes, especially now with the way that the clubs work, especially bigger clubs and sort of heading down into Reading's direction, they do tend to have their own press gang and they do tend to send out their own stories, and you don't get what we give them, and on this show, and have done for the last 5, 6 years, 7 years, how long we've been doing it now, another opinion. And I think if you get rid of local journalism or you stop them going to grounds, I think that's a terrible thing.
Yeah, look, we spoke to DJ Mega Party as well, and some of the abuse that he gets, and I have seen some of the critique that Johnny Lowe especially seems to get from people, and that they do go too far. But I think a lot of people on social media go too far deliberately to get that attention.
But again, why would you? I don't understand.
I don't get it either.
Because what are you achieving from that? You're stood there or in your bedroom with your underpants on. You know what I mean?
Not to stereotype anyone there.
You know what I mean? But you are.
You can be sat there in your pyjamas. Look, we don't care.
Probably underpants though, and well, that's why I do it anyway. But yeah, so you're sat at your computer desk. You're criticising someone for doing their job. What are you doing? You know what I mean? What are you doing?
Yeah, and look, one of the things that I'm most proud of from founding the Tilehurst End and running it all these years is we have given people an open forum, and I have said this Go back and listen in the archives, go back and check the website, the Twitter, whatever you like. Hundreds of times I've said, if you've got an opinion and you can at least put together a basic argument, you're welcome. You're welcome on the Tilehurst end. You can put your opinion out to the masses. We don't censor it unless you say something legally dodgy.
Yeah.
And yet not a lot of people do.
No. Again, this is from the basis of the whole show. When I started it, I didn't feel that there was a fan voice.
Yeah.
I felt that you had your fan base and you had Star and they do an excellent job.
Yeah, and you had Hobnob.
You had Hobnob, yeah, and then you had the Whiff that was there for a little while. And then I didn't think there was a radio fan base and you could have your opinion. And that's why I started it in the first place and why you took it on and the principles we still live by, you know. So we did do something about it. We didn't sit at our computer and say we ain't going to do nothing. We did. And that's more power to me and you, I think. But to sit there and criticise that, I think, well, what are you criticising? Why didn't you do something about it?
By all means, if a journalist doesn't get something right, like I says, journalists should be fair and accurate. I am a journalist and I've run the site. And if someone pops up with saying, "Oh, it was X and not Y who did that cross," I'm absolutely more than happy to put my hands up and say, "Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll go and change it." And I'm sure any of the people that you mentioned would be happy to do exactly the same.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah,
that's just
exactly
helping.
That's what you should be doing. Yeah,
that's what
if you can do it, by the way, just be discreet about it. Don't tag the world in there.
Just drop us an email.
Drop a DM or something like that. And look, it goes back to that point. Local journalism, like you said, it doesn't pay very well.
No.
And unfortunately, that is as much our fault. And I'm not talking me. I'm talking the whole fan bases and society in general. When you were buying the Reading Evening Post for 30p, and they were selling God knows how many, 20,000 daily at 30p, they're making 60,000p. So what's that? A really terrible math.
Yeah, whatever. Well,
whatever. A lot. They're making a lot. I'm really terrible. I don't know that. 600 quid odd. I don't know. I'm really terrible. I'm sorry. Maths isn't my strong point.
Someone from Twitter, please write in and tell us exactly how much.
Whatever. Okay, let's do it in better maths. You're selling 10,000 copies at 10p a piece, which means you're making $1,000. You're making $1,000 every night. Times by 360, you're making 365 grand a year. Out of that, you can probably afford to pay a good journo 40 odd grand for your biggest stories, which are Reading Football Club. Now, where do Get Reading get their money from? They get it from advertisement. Where'd you get advertisement from? Clicks.
Yep.
And one of the big complaints I see is, there's too many adverts, I have to do this survey, yada, yada, yada. That's the only reason the website still exists, people.
That's it. It won't be one.
Yeah. There is no paper anymore. So the only way they make money is through advertising and from the funding of the parent company, Trinity Mirror. And it's the reason I go on about Patreon and say, please donate if you can. If you're not putting the money in, where do you expect the good output to come from?
Yeah.
If you want someone to fix your roof, you pay them to do it. If you want someone to do a thoroughly researched, great piece of journalism covering all sides and being in depth, damn well pay them for it.
And then if they don't do it,
then you start having a go.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Exactly. If I knew full well that Jonathan Lowe was sat there on 80 grand a year, all expenses paid, and was doing a naff job, I'd be saying, come on.
Then you can have a pop. Fair
Even
enough.
Tim Della has a second job.
Yeah.
Coaching. He does his cricket coaching, and he's also, head of sport for the company.
I think a lot of it boils down to a little bit of jealousy. I think most things on social media do. I think a lot of Reading fans are sat there thinking, I could do that job. I'd love to do that job. It must be a great job going all around the country watching Reading, writing about it. And I probably think that myself. You know what I mean? I think that does sound like a great job. Unfortunately, I can't write. But if I could, it would be a great job. But I think that boils down to a lot of it. I think some people are so upset with their boring, sad lives that they decide to have a go at someone else who's doing something with it.
That's your words, not mine. I won't go that far.
You can write that down.
That's fine. I won't go that far to say it. And I get why some people get frustrated. But like I say, if you want to do something about it, you've got to help. You've got to. And look, maybe this is something that Get Reading and the Reading Chronicle and whatever need to do. They need to find a way to fund this because the old funding models are dead. And if you haven't got the money coming in, you can't expect someone to do a proper job. You've either got to rely, like you said, on someone coming out of college that's prepared to take a lower level of pay, or someone that's completely on the way down and just doing it as a part-time job.
Yeah, I know. We're talking about the Hound. I know he was still doing. I don't know if he's still doing.
I think
it
he
now.
still chips in with the occasional piece. Yeah.
But he doesn't get paid a penny. He hasn't done for years.
Yeah.
He does it just for the love of doing it. Yeah. And then when we moved the show to Get Reading, whenever it was, 4 or 5 years ago, we went in that big building that used to have down opposite Rivermead Richfield Avenue, and this was a massive building, and Johnny said to me, this place used to be full, and there was like 4 levels, and they was using 1 level, and only half of that was full.
I think, and I can't say if this is the case now, as of certainly parts of last year, I think they were down to a staff of about 12
they had
to
a
16
table,
people.
They had a table. I mean, I don't know if you ever come up there with me, but they had
I went to the room with a Hoover.
There you go. Yeah, if you went upstairs, they had a table between them. There was about 7 journos writing at the time, and only 3 of them were on the payroll.
And the Reading Chronicle is the same. Now, the Reading Chronicle does still have a physical paper. So again, you want the quality of journalism to improve, you've got to back the paper and you've got to go out and buy it. If you are buying the Reading Chronicle every week and then you still don't like what Quarterly Friday does, you've got more grounds to have a pop at him.
Also, the Chronicle didn't have money to send their journos to games.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
So look, and again, it goes back to the whole Patreon thing, and it's a wider debate that I could spend for hours on. If you want good content, if you want good journalism, please pay for it. However you do it, whether it is backing a podcast like us, whether it is going out and buying the Chronicle, whether it's taking the 5 minutes to fill out that Google survey on Get Reading.
I mean, it doesn't take long, does it? Yeah. To be fair.
Whatever you do, we're not a society where you get something for nothing, or we like to think sometimes, and I'm as guilty as it of anyone. I skip that survey, I do this, but, I contribute to other things. I give my time, which is my money, to do this.
Yeah, the thing is as well, I think local newspapers, especially when it comes to sports, is dead anyway, because people want quick news. They want to know now, don't they? I want to know who Reading signed this second. I don't want to know this afternoon when I've already found out. So it is dead. It's a dead media, really. And it will just end up just phasing out completely. But like I say, if you want it, then you're going to have to pay for it.
And just on the second point as well, before we round this off, some clubs do ban local journalism. Swindon being one of them.
That's disgusting.
Newcastle have had lots of run-ins with local press.
Yeah, but that's disgusting, because if a journo's coming and saying something you don't particularly like, that's because the fans are expressing that view. And if you're shutting them out, then you might as well shut your own fans out.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. I think it's disgusting of clubs that do it. But they do still have to tread a bit of a delicate line, especially, Tim Della can't go off, every time he seems to have a run-in with a manager, they get sacked.
Yes.
So,
I mean, they do, yeah, you're right there. I mean, the journalists do, to a certain extent, have to toe the line with the clubs, because let's face it, without the clubs, there is no interest. And if the club was to say to you, right, okay, well, you don't come in there no more, then who's going to buy the newspaper?
Exactly, and it goes back to the whole money thing. There's no money to pay a good journo, and you are right back to square. So look, by all means, I'm sure any of these guys would come on this show and would say, you know what, I'm open to a bit of constructive criticism. I understand if I get X or Y wrong. So do that. Be constructive with your criticism. And look, he might say the odd stupid thing, and you might, put a face palm emoji out. You know what? A bit of fun. That's fine. But it's when people go too far, just give them a break. And that will be my parting message on the whole issue of local journalism. And again, just back it. If you want it to grow, if you want it to be good quality, whether it's this website, anything else, put your money, or at least your time. If you can't afford the money, put your time in.
Or be constructive.
Exactly. Well, that's what I mean by time.
Otherwise, don't bother.
Be constructive and help. Offer to say, just go to them and say, you know what, I notice you guys don't cover X or Y. I'm happy to do it for you.
Yep. Brilliant.
Yeah,
well
exactly.
done you. Then we can criticise you instead.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much for the question. Again, please get your thoughts in. You can leave them on the thread on this website. You can still send them in. I'm sure the guys will tackle it in future weeks. But that does wrap up the finale of Pub Chat. So we move in to your part of the show. It is the mailbag.
The Tilehurst End podcast. Read the blog on thetilehurstend.com.
Right, well, speaking of time, these kind folk have given their time to set their thoughts into the mailbag via @the Tilehurst End on Twitter, thetilehurstend@gmail.com, and facebook.com/the Tilehurst End. Please do keep those thoughts coming in, because just because I'm moving doesn't mean the mailbag will be going away.
I feel slightly worried that we might criticise their opinions now and make it as bad as the old trollers.
Yeah.
So we're trying to keep it constructive.
Yeah, exactly. We've stripped down to our underpants and we're ready to criticise. Good job we're not on webcam.
Yeah, I'm not wearing underpants.
Oh, dearie me. Well, we're going out in style here, folks. Right. Let's start with Keith, who asks, if you were to analyse the last year, what were the percentage of goals against us do you think Chris Gunter has been involved in compared to the percentage of balls he receives and just knocks backwards without even looking to go forward? For me, about the same. He's overrated, and two poor wing backs have held us back in Stam's Methodist playing as much as the lack of a centre forward. The only good thing about Reading's very poor start is that at least now it's okay to say Stam's style of football is boring. A lot of people thought it but never dared to say it while we were winning. And good luck in whatever you do in the future. And thanks again. Thank you, Keith. Chris Gunter.
I'd point you to a point I made a few weeks back that if Reading are losing, I'd take Gunter and Blackett off straight away because I don't think they offer you anything really going forward. Gunter's decision making in the final third is poor. His first touches in general isn't great, and his crossing's terrible. So yes, I think he's got a great engine. Yes, I think he's very fit. I think he's at his level. He's no better than the league he plays in. To point criticism at him as an individual, I'd say no. I don't think he's any worse than anyone else. But I think if you're playing him as a wing back, I think to a certain extent you are losing a lot on that wing going forward.
I think you look at where Pep Guardiola strengthened for Manchester City. You know, Pep, very much a possession football man, a quick passing and moving team, and he replaced fullbacks. That was one of the big things he did over the summer. Spent, stupid money on Kyle Walker. But
Kyle Walker is what I call a wing back.
Yes.
He's quick.
Oh, yeah.
He's good going forward. And if you ever see... Kyle Walker's amazed me sometimes, because if you ever see anyone go past him, within about 4 strides, he's back with them. You know what I mean? He can recover. Doesn't matter how far he is up the pitch, he can recover. Gunter, he's not lightning quick. He's got a good engine. He puts a shift in, I'll give him that. But he's not... I don't think he's a wing back.
He's not part of the problem, but I don't necessarily think he's part of the solution long term.
It's a bit like Blackett, though. He's been asked to play in a position that I don't think is their best.
Nobody was having a go at Chris Gunter last season, put it that way.
No, I don't think anyone was having a go at him, but I still don't think he is a wing back. I think he's a decent right back. I think he could play in a 3 as a centre back, but he doesn't offer you anything going forward. He doesn't look like scoring. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't create a great deal. He's all right. He was right with McCleary.
I'd just say it's down the list in my areas where I think, we need to have a look at that.
Yeah, he's not the worst, don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is I would take him off. As soon as they're losing, you may as well take him off the pitch.
In terms of Blackett, look, I think even Tyler Blackett himself would hold his hands up and say, look, I'm not a wing back.
No, he isn't.
He's doing a job there. Sometimes he does it okay, sometimes he does it well. And unfortunately, a lot of the times he doesn't do so well.
No, it's average, isn't it? It's an average. It's a bit like Gunter. I'd say if Gunter as a wing back, you say out of 10, you'd give him 5.5, 6, and Blackett, you'd give him 5.
And look, there's obviously nobody better in the squad, at least in Sam's opinion, because he plays Gunter weak. He handed Gunter a new contract, and he picks. You could say that he's not convinced with Blackett because, as we mentioned, Richards was in and Abita looked like he was coming back. So clearly, Stam realises that Blackett's not the long-term answer, but at the moment, he's what we've got.
Gunter has got all the energy to be a wing back. He's just not a wing back. It's not his position. He's not good enough to play there.
Anyway, thank you very much for the question, Keith. Scott in the States says the Norwich match was the first time I got to watch Reading in a league game this season. Out here, ESPN may as well be Leeds SPN.
Yeah, it's a bit like that with Sky Sports here, so don't worry about it too much.
The commentator made an observation I've heard on the podcast many times. Even when Reading go forward, there are rarely many men in the box. Is this due to tactics, such as Stam instructing his team to guard against counters, or are the players not being aggressive enough? With a side so lacking in goal scorers, you would think they would want to attack the box when crosses are put in to take advantage of the few chances you do create.
Again, this is exactly what I said 2 or 3 weeks ago. There is not enough midfielders that try and get in that box to score goals. They're all stood on the edge of the box or they're halfway down the pitch.
Yeah, I think I'll be fascinated to know if this is an instruction. I can't tell you that without being Jaap Stam. My guess, if I had to make one, is that they're probably being told to stay in a position to receive a pass or for a cutback.
Maybe.
But look,
if you look at the goals, even Kelly's goals this year, pretty much all of them have been outside the box or a penalty. If he's had a shot at goal, it's not because he's dashed into the box and took one touch and slid it past the goalkeeper. It's because he's got it on the edge of the box and he's hit it and it's gone in. Again, I've pointed out many, many times, the more you watch Reading, the more you see it. They've got 3 midfielders and not one of them makes an attempt to get in the box. Yeah,
so unfortunately you'd have to ask Mr. Stam, and maybe Tim will ask him in a future interview about that. So, I would like to see it more, and I think most people would as well. Mark Sugar, thoughts on Tiger looking to buy Oxford United? Had you seen this story, Westy?
No, I haven't seen this story.
So, Tiger, the former shareholder who looked to be taking the reins in the later days of the Thai consortium, resigned from the board when the Chinese takeover was completed in the summer, and he's been spotted at Oxford a couple of times. He's attended a couple of games. He now follows them on Twitter, which is a big thing in 2017.
Very.
He apparently only follows like 18 people, and one of them is Oxford.
Wow, that tells you all you need to know, doesn't it?
It does.
Really?
So it looks like he's starting to invest. My initial thought is, well, do they have a car park to build on? Maybe he's going to build an ice rink where their missing stand is.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe there's a stand missing. He might put a housing and development in there instead.
Look.
Pitchview Penthouse Suites.
Yeah, Tiger, look, I was in a room with him. He seemed a very nice guy. He did seem to know his football. So he clearly likes football. But I think they were vocal in saying, Westy, that Reading was just losing too much money.
Yeah.
Hand over fist, million, and we're talking in the tens of millions now. We're not even talking £1 million a year. This is tens of millions of pounds that a Championship football club is bleeding. So if he wants to get involved with Oxford, losses are going to be smaller, the risk is going to be less, and maybe that's just a way to scratch his itch. I wish it wasn't Oxford. Can't he go and back Maidenhead or someone like that? Someone that we like.
I tell you what, sorry, get off the point a little bit, but Maidenhead, you've seen the way their crowds have picked up since Reading's poor form. Most of my mates are down there putting it on Facebook all the time.
Yeah, Johnny Williams of this very show, he's down there a lot.
They're all jumping ship.
Look, if that's where they get their football fix, more credit to them. It's nice to see another club in the county doing well. But again, it's up to Reading to woo those fans back, and hopefully they can.
Still doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? But look, Tiger, look, he served his role here. They helped stabilise the club after the Anton era. Said nice things, and he appointed Jaap Stam. So, look, this is his new project. It was clear that he didn't have the funds to bankroll Reading, so it's not a case of he's taking his billions elsewhere. No, he's taking millions.
It's maybe a nice club to take over as well at Oxford, you know what I mean?
Not. It's Oxford.
It's a nice town.
City. Stop saying that.
But no, you can see why he might.
Totally drive off the viewers before I quit the show.
Okay, no, buy Maidenhead instead then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You find our Reading fan base down there, so don't worry about it.
Well, more power to him. We'll see if it comes off. Nothing official yet, so one to keep an eye on. Theo asks, if it was any manager besides Stam, do you think they would have already been sacked?
I think we answered this earlier. I think they'd be under a lot more pressure, yes.
Yeah, very much agree. What if this was... Do you think if this was even a man not as well known? So if this was Brian McDermott and new owners had come in, do you think the fact that he was Brian McDermott and not Jaap Stam would get him sacked?
If it was new owners from China and they come in and they spent a lot of money, or they was going to spend a lot of money like they did, I don't think Brian McDermott would have even got the seat warm. I don't think he'd have started the first game.
I don't think they could have sacked him after coming third.
Well, okay, he might have started the first game, but I don't think he'd have been here long. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. And look, we've seen it with Crystal Palace this season. We saw it with Villa last season. Just because you knew doesn't mean you're safe. So
no, it doesn't mean you're safe.
So look, he's under pressure, but backing him to come through it. And Cole, RFC 92. Why wasn't Moore marking Jerome for the Norwich goal instead of Blackett? Do you think if Moore was marking him, they would have scored?
Well, why didn't Blackett do his job properly, and we wouldn't have to have this debate, would we? Do you know what I mean? It's because he's been so poor on what he'd done that we're saying why wasn't Moore marking him? It's a no answer really. It's just the fact is Blackett didn't do his job properly.
It's a wider problem though, isn't it? It's a wider problem with defensive organisation because we've said it for so many different types of goals. Where was X? Where was Y?
Well, the thing is, someone was marking him. It wasn't if he was completely on his own. He just outmuscled him and outfought him. Simple as that.
Yeah, very true. Dave McCormick says, Wimb, who's your favourite Reading FC player, your favourite moment, and your biggest Reading regret? Okay. My favourite Reading player, I loved, when I very first started watching Reading, I loved Scott Taylor.
Yeah.
I loved seeing Scott Taylor run down the wing, get a ball in the box. And Archie Lovell as well, when that 94-95 season was great. Going forward, I loved Jimmy Kebe, just because I never knew what he was going to do. I thought he was great for that reason. All of the 05-06 team were fantastic. You can't help but love Bryn. Steve Sidwell, probably amongst the most gifted players I've seen, just for all round.
Yeah.
It wasn't like one thing you could say, Sidwell does that better, but the whole package was brilliant.
Yeah, it was all action when he said.
And you saw him develop from a youngster to in his prime at Reading, and that was great as well. Shaq Hislop, again, that 95 team, it's amazing how the first team you see leaves such an imprint on you, even though I was so young. So all of those players. Favourite moment, Southampton away in 2012. I was away at university and missed most of the 2005-06 good stuff, so I thought I'd missed my chance to see a Reading Glory team. And that run to the title in 2012, I was lucky. I was in a position I got to go to pretty much every game in the run-in. But the West Ham away game and Southampton away would just brilliant.
And it was such a hard running as well, wasn't it? It wasn't easy.
And it wasn't the procession that 05-06 was, where you knew that no game mattered. These games mattered. Southampton was pretty much the closest we've come to winning a playoff final.
Yeah. And the great thing was, some parts of them 2 games, West Ham and Southampton, Reading weren't even in the game.
No.
They wasn't even in it.
How we ended up with 2 wins in those games. So those are my favourite moments. A biggest regret... Again, probably not being there more. Probably not going... I didn't manage... Personally, for me, my biggest Reading regret was not going to more Premier League away games. Especially in 07-08, I'd just come back from uni and had the money and the disposable income to go to the likes of Old Trafford. But I thought, we're going to stay up. There'll be another chance to do it. And then it didn't come. And then by the time we got to the Premier League again, my circumstances had changed. I couldn't go anyway. So in terms of overall Reading regret, how Stuart Lovell not scoring that penalty in 95 still haunts me. That will haunt me more than Liam Moore and Jordan Abita.
It was the first thing that popped into my head when I read that question that you just read out a minute ago. Yeah.
Although this year's playoff final and just not seeing Reading go for it more is a regret.
Yeah, I think that's a regret for them. It's not really a regret for you, is it? I mean, you can't influence that. Again, it wasn't a game I walked out and felt devastated like I did in 95. I don't think I'll ever get that feeling again.
Indeed. So thank you very much for the question, Dave. And Lucy T asks, my favourite podcast moment, my least favourite podcast moment, and my standout Reading FC fan moment. Thanks for what you've done. Thanks very much, Lucy. I think I've answered my standout fan moment. Favourite podcast moment? I really enjoyed the impromptu one that I managed to put together in Manchester when it looked like Steve Clarke was leaving for Fulham. Yes. With nothing more than a quick voice recorder. I think it was me, Johnny Becker, and Sim managed to cobble together a podcast. That was really good fun to do. Some funny one. The amount of times we've had to stop and pause a podcast because my cat has burst in through the window is more to care. I put together a little montage actually that I might chuck into the end of the show. That's got some of my questions. Like there's stuff like the unprofessional joke of a footballer from Royston Trenter. How Robson Canoe.
I tell you, we've dragged that one out, haven't we? The unprofessional joke. That's come up many, many times.
How Robson Canoe provided more hours of talking points than any other man.
Yeah, it probably did. I think going back to when I used to do it, my favourite one was when we upset the pigeon detectives when we first started. That was really good.
How did you have to jog memory of that?
I think we said something about Leeds that they didn't like. We was on the show at the same time. It's when they used to do a link-up show on Football Fancast with Sam Matterface, who does he does it now, doesn't he? And we said something that upset them. They got the right ump, so that was good.
Yeah.
And also Heineken we upset as well, but that's another story.
Least favourite podcast moment. There have been several times where I've lost bits of shows. I've had technical errors. I've had sound issues, and I've had little glitches, and I've spent hours trying to get them back. I once did an interview with John Keane, I think, possibly promoting his book or something. And all I'd managed to record was his voice.
Oops.
So I had to then go back.
Did you overdub it?
Yeah, well, I went back and re-recorded my questions to him. And that took ages in what was supposed to be a quick copy and paste. So that's the editing.
Work there, though.
The editing is my least favourite moment as I slowly lose my voice here.
What was your favourite interview?
Archie Lovell.
Yep.
I thought was brilliant. I had such good fun talking to Archie. I was lucky I got to go and interview a lot of that 95 side. So we interviewed Scott Taylor, Archie, Shaka, Simon Osborne. You did Dylan Kerr.
I did Juxie as well.
You did A. Williams as well.
AD, yeah.
So I think we've got a good... And you know what? It was really nice forging a really good, positive relationship with the football club as well, and getting to speak to DJ Megaparty and getting him to have his opinion, getting his voice and his views out there was nice. Things we did with Adam Benson and Mark Bradley, giving fans a real sort of, this is what goes on at the football club. That was great as well. So they've all been great moments. The Christmas specials at the pubs have been brilliant as well.
Yeah, they've good
always been a good laugh. So yeah, I've been very, very lucky. And Hoops asked a similar question. He said, what's been your biggest highlight of doing the pod over the years? And yeah, it's doing the interviews, it's doing this, it's getting... And, you know, without being soppy, because my voice is going, not through emotion, but because I've got a
tearing
cold.
up, folks. Glad you can't see it.
It's getting to... It's when you get the messages from people out there that are like, this keeps me in touch with Reading Football Club, I'm in exile, or thanks for all you do, this gets me through my commute. When you receive a message like that, it makes, as I mentioned, the hours you spend editing, researching, prepping, it just makes it worthwhile, because I can promise you folks, I don't do this for the money.
No.
I've never done this for the money. It has always been about a love of the football club and a love of doing this. So when you get that positive feedback and people say, thanks for doing this, Wimb, or, really enjoyed the show this week, or they just retweet or like your tweet or something like that, that's been great. And I've met some great people doing this over the years as well. I knew yourself before doing it, but, getting to meet lots of people. We got to go to a podcasting awards and all sorts. So yeah,
it is great. It does open many doors for you if you want to move into this sort of thing. And even if it doesn't, for me, it was always done as a fan because I love the club. You know what I mean? And I did get to see a lot of things that I wouldn't have done. Like you said, I went to the Journalist of the Year Awards at Brighton Amex Stadium with Johnny.
Is that when Johnny Forner upset a gold medalist?
Yeah, that's Catherine Granger. He bit into a gold medal.
Oops.
Yeah, that was funny. That she stormed off pretty quick as well. But stuff like that, and people I got to interview, like my heroes when I was a kid, Dylan Kerr, Trevor Senior, Michael Jokes, and it's such a lovely thing to do. And like you said, when you get messages, I've met people that come over from America, and they've seen one game and they said, well, we're coming over, and I said, well, come with me, I'll take you, come with me. And we had a lovely afternoon and evening with them. And like you said, that's what you do it for. You do it because you're giving something back.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? You might not always be right, but it's giving people that are not here, can't see things that we see, don't see the club all the time. It's giving them somewhere to listen to.
And if I had one regret, and this is a good sort of time to segue into why I'm stepping away from all this. If I had one regret, it's that this wasn't my full-time job. I would have loved to have done more interviews, to do more the video analysis and stuff we started doing on YouTube, to do all of that stuff. But, I'm only 31 years old. I'm out of myself here. But I'm in a very different place than I was at 24 when I started Tilehurst End, and 26, whatever it was, when I started doing this podcast. The time it takes a lot of time.
It is, yeah.
And, I've got a very patient wife, bless her. She's put up with us recording this in my study for 140 episodes. Well, it used to be in my living room, so you literally used to have to kick her upstairs.
She deserves a thank you, doesn't she?
She does. Rosie's done very well over the years. My dear wife, and, she put up with us getting married on a cup semi-final day.
Yes,
so.
yeah, I used to do a very similar thing when I started. I used to be in my dining room.
Yeah.
My wife left me.
Yeah, Rosie, don't follow that one if you're listening. Yeah, you don't have to do that. No such extremes. I'm giving it up now.
Yeah.
I'm giving it up. But, it's the sacrifices you have to make. And the great thing about the Tilehurst End, this show and everything we did here, and are still doing, I should say, is that as you get more professional, it just takes more time.
Yeah.
If you only have like an unprofessional joke of an attitude about it, and you don't plan your shows, and you don't do that, and you don't fill the mailbag and stuff like that, you can knock it off dead easy, in an hour, great, put it out, whatever. But if you want the best audio quality, you want the stings, you want good questions, you want good analysis, it takes time. And unfortunately, going back to the whole local journalism thing, you can't sustain it.
No.
So what you do rely on is a great group of people, and I've been lucky on this podcast to have yourself, Johnny, Mark, Steve, everybody that's guested on this show, over this. Rob Langham, we had John Keane, Becca's been on, we had a lot of Ben Greenwood in more recent weeks, Dave Handbags Harris in particular. All you guys give up your time, you come over to my house or you get on Skype and you give up your time, and it's only through the generosity time-wise, again, going back to do you give up your money or give up your time, you guys have given that investment in your time, and hopefully out there you've appreciated what we've managed to cobble together. So time is a big factor of why I'm stepping away. I've done this for 7 years, the pod for, 5 of them and 200 odd plus episodes. So time wise, it's a good time for me to step away. I'm handing the website over to Bucks Royal, aka Simeon. He's written an article on the website, which you can go check out, where he reintroduced himself. He's been part of the Tilehurst End for years now. He's a great lad, and the site will go from strength to strength. I've got no doubt whatsoever of that. In terms of the podcast, Sim is self-admittedly, he's not a tip-top broadcaster, but look, there are familiar voices that we've had on this show that I've just mentioned. The hope is that some of them are going to take this on. I can't sit here and say definitely what that's going to be. They've got some ideas, I know, but I don't want to go and say they'll be doing X and Y. But I'm pretty confident that this show is going to continue in some form. I don't think it's going to go away. I'm certain there is somebody out there that can do this job. If I can do it, you can do it.
I've done it from scratch. I had a microphone taped to a bit of broom handle. You know what I mean? So it can be done. I mean, it's obviously much more fresh for eyes to do it. But I think from my point of view, and probably yours, probably speak for both of us here, because we have invested so much of our time, and I love in it to a certain extent, that it would be a shame that from when I started it 8-9 years ago now, whenever long it was, it'd be a shame if it didn't carry on, because it has made waves, I think, and it's a good thing for especially fans that are here, but also fans that are abroad.
And look, if you want to get involved, if you're sat out there, because I was this way, you know, I guested a few times when you did your show, and I'd always wanted to do it, but I never wanted to step on your toes. I never wanted to launch that rival show because I thought I might as well help towards this rather than do it.
I genuinely didn't think there'd have been room for it anyway. Do you know what I mean? It'd been too much, if anything.
But I'm not saying nobody can do this better than the Tilehurst End people, if you're out there. But what I'm saying is, if you're out there and you're a young broadcaster or you're a passionate fan and you like doing this, email in to the tilehurstend@gmail.com. Make yourself known out there, because, like I said, it's a new regime at the top. They're very keen to get new people on board. And if you've got the passion to do it, the great thing about it is that the people that have supported this show on patreon.com, who've given that hard-earned money to us, have meant that I'm not just packing up all this stuff and keeping it. It's going on. It's going on to the next person. So hopefully it will pop up again. As for me, time is a big reason why I'm leaving, but I have got something else in the pipeline, Westy.
Big.
A few people have asked what this thing is, and I really want to tell people what it is, but I can't yet.
Oh, no.
I can't tell people what it is. It's still in negotiations in the planning stage at the moment. So the last thing I want to do is say, I'm doing this. It'll happen now, and you'll be able to see it whenever. But look, rest assured, put it this way, if it all comes off, you've not seen the last of me.
We might be seeing quite a lot of you.
You might be seeing a lot of me. So whether you see that as a good or a bad thing, I don't know. But look,
we will be seeing you.
I'm not going anywhere. And the final word on this, because we have got any other business to quickly get to, is that I will always be a supporter of the Tilehurst End. I will always be a big part of my life, and I will always be backing it. And look, I'm not ruling out being back on this show one day. You know, come episode 239, I might be back.
We might make a big comeback when we're about 50 odd.
Exactly. You know, when we're playing in the Mega Prem or the Europa World League.
Chinese League.
Exactly, wherever we are. So, look, again, I'll just round this off by saying thank you. Do keep continuing to support the show via the mailbag, via patreon.com/the Tilehurst End. Give them that funding. And, of course, go to readthetilehurstend.com. In the meantime, before my voice does finally die, we will get on to the finale of the show. What better way to finish it than with a bit of dirty Leeds in any other business?
The Tilehurst End Podcast. Any other business?
Well, Westy, after that emotional segment and goodbye and farewell, dirty Leeds. That is our next opponent. They are 5th in the table. We go to Ellen Road on Saturday, but they're on a bit of a wobble. They've only won 1 out of their last 4. And whilst, they've started the season well and they have got some good players in there, you do look at that team and say, it's not full of world beaters.
No, but I think I said last year, I quite enjoyed watching Leeds play last year. I think they're quite in your face. They're quite dynamic. You know what I mean? They get the ball forward quickly. They looked quite good last year until they fell away right near the end. You fear for Reading a little bit because of last year and Jaap sort of making comments towards not winning football matches the way they did. I thought that was a little bit naive of him as a new manager, because all that really does is make sure that the crowd are right behind him when you play them. So it'd be interesting how Reading start. You hope that they get on the ball early. You hope that they can, if they're going to play the way they normally do, that they can dominate that game. But I'm concerned for them against Leeds because I think they will struggle to get a result up there.
Yeah, good start from Thomas Christensen up there. They've still got players that know how to do the business. People like Kemar Roof and Lasoga.
Yeah, and Janssen, obviously a big player from last year, wasn't he?
So they've got players. They've got Connor Shaughnessy, who came through the ranks at Reading, and they've converted to being a defender as well. So a few people saying, Reading shouldn't have let him go, but look.
There's lots of players that shouldn't have let go, but you take the risk.
Exactly. Bookmakers firmly in the Leeds camp here, unsurprisingly. They are 17-20, so odds on to win this one. The draw is 13-5. Reading are 3-1. I haven't got updated prediction league standings at the moment.
Okay. I also see one of their former managers said that it's going to be an easy 3 points for them.
Oh, wow.
Leeds. He said that it'd be an easy 3 points against Reading.
Wow. Okay. Well,
good of him, wasn't it?
Look, do you know what? It'll do us good to be the underdog, I think. A bit ease the pressure. I don't think, we'll do I said I haven't got the updated standings, unfortunately, to hand, but I don't think many of us are predicting wins here.
I normally would not back against Reading. That's why I never win the prediction league. But I think on this occasion, at the moment, form-wise and the fact that they're going to Leeds, I can't see Reading getting much out of it. So I'm going to say 2-0 to Leeds.
2-0. I will say Reading are going to... because I want to end this show on a positive, Westy, I'm going to say we're going to win 1-0.
Well, I've got a nasty habit of when I do back the other team, Reading tends to get a result out of nowhere. So hopefully that one will come true.
Yeah, so that remains to be seen. But anyway, that wraps up the show. That is me not quite out of here. I will be back with Tom Crocker on Friday for one final Tilehurst End Podcast Extra. But in terms of this main show, as I said, it's 139 and out, Westy.
It is, and I'd like to thank you for taking this over. I think you've done an excellent job. You've done amazing. Your work you've done has far exceeded anything I ever did, and I think it was a great idea of mine to give the show to you. No, it was a really.
Do I get that $5,000 deposit back?
No, it was an absolute pleasure that you've done this, and it'd be a shame, like you said, if it doesn't carry on.
Yeah, and
from my point of view,
and the feeling's very much mutual. And yes, I don't want to turn this into a glad-handing backslapping finale. But look, I do again such a big thank you to everyone who contributes to this show, especially the co-hosts like yourself. And it's a real big shame that I couldn't get Handbags Harris here, Johnny here, and do a big proper finale. But scheduling and stuff is just, it's a nightmare.
It is. And if someone takes it over, they will find this out for themselves.
Indeed, exactly. It's as life moves on, finding the time becomes harder and harder. But and thank you. I'll finish with thanking the most important people, which is you guys out there for listening. So again, if nobody listened, nobody sent in questions for the mailbag, we would have just jacked it in. Because look, the motto for this podcast was by the fans, for the fans. And if the fans decided they didn't like it, I'm not going to sit here and force it down their throats. Like I said, I'm not doing it for the money. So look, you've been brilliant. Please continue to support this show. I hope it's going to be back in the not too distant future. It will certainly be back on Friday with me for the podcast extra. But beyond that, I'm hoping this show will go from strength to strength. Get those thoughts going into the mailbag. Keep nudging them on Twitter if they don't pop up with something new. And hopefully, Westy, you'll be back. Because you can't break this streak of yours.
No. If they need me, then if you book me, I will come.
There you go. So he's made himself available, folks. They've got it. So if you're out there, like I say, if you want to get involved, if you think I can step into Wimb's chair, that's dead easy. Please do. The tilehurstend@gmail.com is the place to go. Thank you once again, and I'll end the show in the best possible way with a big, big thank you, and come on, you R's.
My name's Dan Wimbush, otherwise known as Wimb. Welcome to the first of what we're hoping will be a weekly podcast devoted to all things Reading Football Club.
Trent has got all the ability to be a top footballer, else he wouldn't have been at Real Madrid in the first place. I said this from the beginning. It's not that I think he's a bad footballer, I just think he's an unprofessional joke.
Could you imagine that?
I think it surprised him.
If Hope Akpan suddenly turns the best holding sort of midfielder in the country.
It would be a real surprise, yeah.
Is there how Robson Canoe? Where's Hope Akpan? We could have had the next Makalele.
We need the yak.
Bring the hack back.
All the shows I do, I say the same thing about Reading all the time. They give you that little bit of hope, and then they yank it from underneath you. And it's still happening now.
It's a bit of a ridiculous comparison, but David Silva.
Johnny Williams, I will not have David Silva and Hal Robson-Kanu mentioned in any comparison.
Least improved player.
Right, so Hal Robson-Kanu landslide, unfortunately. Hal, try and get your move in January. This club wants it.
Morrison. Yeah.
Well, as Johnny's cough sounds a lot like Sean Morrison. We're a family-friendly show, Mark.
With the mailbag bulging, the fans are certainly still with us.
Like I said, when things are going bad, you get a bulging mail sack. Oh, be careful, I said that.
I'm sorry, usually Johnny's the one that sits on the fence. I know you're fairly new to this podcast, Steve, but Johnny's usually the one that sits on the fence.
I'd like to take offence at that statement.
So is there any way you can force supporters to chant? That's the question. No, you can't force them to chant.
Don't know, an electric cattle prod can do brilliant things.
I've never been more excited.
Swift.
Sorry, Mrs. Johnny.
Yeah, I've been trolled.
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to say.
It's sponsored by a giraffe sanctuary.
Flamingo?
We've had flamingos, camels, and giraffes. The Tilehurst End podcast brings you it all. My legendary pronunciation skills continue. Plans to Modi Stugu, I can't even pronounce the name. Modi Sugu.
It's not a jolly season, as I mentioned, for Nigel Atkins. He has been sacked.
The Reading manager has been sacked. Steve Clarke, no longer in the job. Reading manager Brian McDermott has been sacked. Hey, look, we had Elroy Cromie as an interview guest the other day, so all the big names here on the Tilehurst End podcast.
Mr. Simon Osborne.
Evening, gents. How are we?
John Halls.
How are you?
Former Reading defender, Elroy Cromie.
I'm also sort of proud. I had the chance to play for Reading.
Shaka, thanks very much for taking the time to join us.
You're very welcome, Dan, anytime.
Kevin Doyle.
And just waited for everyone to fight and pop out a bush. What I didn't realise was he sat in dog in the bush.
One, Mr. Stuart Lovell.
My basic wage was £90 per week.
Well, no, ironically, I got asked for ID today. I've never been so
No
chuffed.
way.
I'll bet you trying to chat me up.
Trying to get your address.
My 10-year-old son was stood next to me. I thought, come on, you know what I mean? It's 10. Do the maths.
Listen, if I wanted to listen to DJ Mega Party announcing the flipping team like it's the blinking top 40 in the charts, and I'd listen to the top 40 in the
I
charts.
can imagine that in a past life, DJ Mega Party was DJing at Mega Bowl in Calcutta on a Friday night.
Cat stops play.
Surreal.
I'm not sure how she got up here.
Knee-jerk reactions, here we go.
Get the sausage rolls on order, get the bus painted.
Mate, I'm in the West. It's prawn sandwiches all the way.
Ow.
The positivity of the positive is so positive.
You've heard it here first, folks. 2 out of 3 of us predicting promotion.
You wait, right, till these 3 or 4 flops and be like, shocking signings. Why did you do it? Thanks, Fernandez. Gosh. We've only got him on loan. Bring back Akman.
Bring back man.
Apologies for this very brief, rough and ready link. But then again, what would you expect from such an unprofessional joke of a podcast?
Don't see many rich gamblers.
Well, no, you don't in general. But you only have to have one big win. Gambler away.
Yeah, gambler away. That's about 5 gambler wares in.